press conference. So I want to start off by thanking the members of the press who are here for this important conference today, organized by the Muslim American Civil Liberties Coalition of New York and by our good friend and co-sponsor, Councilmember Daniel Dromm. Woo! So I want to just start off by introducing myself. My name is Monami Maulik. I'm the Executive Director of Dromm, DC's Rising Up and Moving, and a member of the coalition MACLC, Muslim American Civil Liberties Coalition. My organization represents South Asian, Muslim, predominantly low-wage workers, families, and youth in New York City. And we're proud to be a part of this coalition and to be with an honored set of speakers, elected officials who joined us here today to really call for some dignity and humanity and respect in terms of how all New Yorkers, particularly Muslim New Yorkers, are being treated in terms of policies and law enforcement during a period where we're seeing rising Islamophobia nationally. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-sponsor, Councilmember Daniel Dromm, to first say a few words, and then we'll start off with our speakers.
Thank you very much, Monami. I'm here today because in addition to representing a very large Muslim community, I feel this issue in my heart as a basic civil rights issue. And many people know that I've been involved in the LGBT movement, and much of my feelings about what I'm doing here today and in a prior press conference come because I know what discrimination does and how discrimination limits you as a human being. Just recently, in front of my office, we held a press conference to protest the hearings by Representative Peter King and to hold up a sign that said, "I am Muslim too." And today, although I don't have the physical sign with me, I want to say that I am Muslim too. Because if what has been done to malign the Muslim community could be done to any community in New York City. We are particularly concerned today that the police department used film to portray the Muslim community in a negative and stereotypical way. And we are here today to call upon the police department to right its wrong. Yes, they have stopped using the film, but that's not enough. They need to go back and they need to re-educate the police officers who saw that film and to say to those police officers, we misinformed you about who the members of the Muslim community are. Additionally, we need to have community input into what the police department is showing to their recruits so that we know how the Muslim community is being portrayed in the future. This is actually good police procedures. This is what the police department has committed itself to in the past, and this is what they should be doing as we move forward. The level of discrimination that exists against the Muslim community is very strong and very deep, and people have been misinformed about our Muslim friends, families, and neighbors. It's time that we right those wrongs, that we address the problems that the police department has created, and that we say no to Islamophobia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the Muslim Bar Association of New York and a member of the Muslim American Civil Liberties Coalition.
My name is Asim Rehman. I'm with the Muslim Bar Association of New York. That's ASIMREHMAN. The Muslim American Civil Liberties Coalition, MACLC, was formed by a group of over a dozen concerned advocacy organizations in response to the NYPD's deeply troubling 2007 report on the homegrown threat. MACLC published a critique of that NYPD report, noting how the report can lead to an increase in religious profiling of Muslim New Yorkers. The NYPD ultimately added a statement of clarification that scaled back some of the harmful rhetoric in the report, but our concerns regarding profiling still exist. So we gather here today because according to the Council on American Islamic Relations, and as reported by the Village Voice, an extremely prejudicial and anti-Muslim film called The Third Jihad was shown to NYPD police cadets during training events. films like this promote religious profiling and harmful stereotypes, and we find that unacceptable. In a time when Muslim Americans have come under increased scrutiny, we need our police to protect us, not to profile us. MACLC wrote to the NYPD in January, expressing concerns about the film and asking for three things. First, an investigation into the showing of the film. Second, information about how Islamic Muslims are portrayed in NYPD training. And third, the opportunity for local Muslim leaders to review NYPD materials which concern Muslims before those materials are used. It took 5 weeks for the NYPD to respond, and all they said was that the film is not appropriate for training, that it is not part of the training curriculum, and that the training individuals have received this same information. Today we say that that isn't enough. As concerned citizens, we want accountability. We want to know why our tax dollars are being used to show films like this. Showing films like this affects citizens' trust in law enforcement, which undermines the security of this great city. So we, the Muslim American Civil Liberties Coalition, and our allies want an investigation into how this happened. We want information on how Islam and Muslims are discussed in training. And we want the NYPD to include the community when taking steps that affect our community. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you. Our next speaker will be City Council Member Robert Jackson. Yay! Woo!
Thank you to everyone that's present. Let me say assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. And in fact, some of you know, many of you do not know, I am a Muslim. And I'm the only Muslim in the City Council of New York. I asked you, do I look like a Muslim? And what does a Muslim look like? A Muslim looks like every New York City resident. With all races, colors, creeds, sizes, and wearing all types of clothing. I stand here united with the Muslim American Civil Liberties Coalition and asking NYPD, Ray Kelly, our commissioner, to do an appropriate investigation. And then to really come out and say that the negative consequences of showing this film are going to be corrected. And that the Muslim community, groups and organizations, and clergy that we have standing behind us will be consulted to make sure it's done correct. In my opinion, that's not asking for a lot. That's asking for respect and dignity as a community. And as an elected public official, with my colleagues that are standing behind me, we ask that upon our mayor, we ask that upon our police commissioner to be inclusive of all 8.4 million New York City residents. And in fact, if you do not know, over approximately 12% of the New York City school population are Muslim. And in fact, depending on the estimates and the census will come out pretty soon, we have about 1 million people in New York City are Muslim. So Muslims are part of the fabric of New York City, the melting pot that has been so described by previous individuals. So I ask the commissioner, do what's right on behalf of all New Yorkers. Do the investigation and consult with the Islamic community on future films that are being shown in NYPD office. Thank you.
For your ongoing commitment to civil rights, Councilmember Jackson. Our next speaker will be Councilmember Mark-Viverito.
I want to thank the American Civil Liberties today and my colleagues that have come together to really denounce what has taken place at the NYPD. Obviously, any attempt those officers that are going to be within our communities to protect us, that we as community members representing all sectors of New York City, that we need to be able to be included in the conversations of how our communities are going to be portrayed, what information is going to be shared, so that we are not training our officers to stereotype those very members of our communities that they are there to protect. So this is very appalling. It's very unfortunate that this has happened, and we really call on the NYPD and on this administration to take responsibility for what has occurred and to really work and extend a hand with all communities across this community, the Muslim community in particular, to make sure that this is not repeated. And that's the way that we grow as a city, is being able to recognize our mistakes and being able to move forward. So I really want to thank all of those that convened this press conference. We joined you, and moving forward, we hope that the NYPD and this administration will do right by the Muslim community.